Hey there, YouTuber. So in this video, we're going to look at a little FortNite gaming, comparing the GTX 1660 Super to the RTX 2060 12 gig versus the RTX 2060 Super and the RTX 3060. Now, I do have the RTX 2060. I didn't include that one. I do have a GTX 1660 Ti. We didn't include that one. Maybe one day I will expand upon this. This took a lot of work just to do this. Did this over a few days' time. So let's talk about the rest of the hardware, and I'll show you specific brands here shortly on those graphics cards. But i7-12700F Intel 12th Gen. This is one of my best CPUs for FortNite. Probably the only one better that I have is the i9-12900. And let's see, the Ryzen 7 5800X is pretty good as well. This was on the ASRock B660M-ITX. No idea why they put an M on there. It should be B660i if they were going to keep with the naming conventions of everybody else. This is obviously not my best motherboard. If you've seen the channel, we've got DDR5 Z690s. We've got other Z690s, H670s, and some better B660s. But this is one of the ones I took with me when I traveled. So in the evenings when I slapped this together, that's the motherboard we used. The drive, 1 terabyte Cellphone power, M.2, NVMe, Gen 3. The cooler that I used, this came from the i9-12900. This was the Intel Laminar RH1. I took it because, pretty compact, a little better than the stock cooler. Most of you will upgrade your stock cooler with this CPU to something better. And this was slightly better than the stock cooler. RAM, 4000 megahertz DDR4, 16 gigs. Is what we got there. This motherboard does not support the higher speeds of this RAM. Usually you see this videos with this RAM. I've got it at 4133 or slightly higher. Power supply, basic EVGA 750 watt PSU, and which is definitely more than enough power. All right, so we're gonna look at 4 different settings. Okay. 1080p competitive, 1080p epic no shadows, 1440p competitive, and 1440p epic no shadows. Now the competitive settings on this channel is view distance epic, and what's the other thing? Distance. Texture and view distance are set to epic. Everything else is set to low or off. Okay, so the GTX 1660 is made by MSI. It's a 6 gig EVGA. It is my RTX 2060 12 gig. The Zotac RTX 2060 Super 8 gig, and Gigabyte made my RTX 3060 12 gig. Now we actually do have 3 RTX 3060s. I do have the other 2060. And we have, like I said, the 1660 Ti. I may, if I get motivated, will add to this at a later time using the same seasons. Now, what do we see here? I played this game as long as I could. You'll see sometimes what my placement was down here at the bottom. All right, place out of 100. So when I was playing the game, this game I did pretty good, Some reason I couldn't win the shootout at the end. Finished second. Not so good here. 11th, 18th, whatever, right? So just to know, I didn't put how many kills on here. I think my best game I had 8 kills. My worst game I probably had 1 or 2. All right, that's the way it goes. Now, I took the FPS average after looking at the recording at 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, and 15. If I made it that far in the game. Okay, if I didn't make it that far, you'll see it not applicable here. All right, now other things, these were all separate games, so this was a different game from that one and that one. There is a way to compare inside of FortNite. Drawing a blank on the way what it's called. I've done it on this channel plenty of times. Honestly, don't really necessarily care for it, but in this case, there will be some error associated with what we did here. You can land in different places on the board. You will see different action, obviously. A lot of things different, right? So the other method probably is a little better, but even then, that method does not always give you consistent results. There is some error associated with that from what I've seen. I can run the same exact settings and not get the same exact FPS. All right, so what do we have here? So looking at these four at 1080p competitive, 1 minute into the game, the RTX 3060 is obviously the superior graphics card from this first row, right? Will that change? And as we go through this, it might. At the 5-minute mark, you've still got the RTX 3060 outperforming everything. And surprisingly, the RTX 2060 12 gig coming in at basically second place at this point, outshining the RTX 2060 Super. 10-minute mark, well, the RTX 3060, I actually ended up dying at 9:44, so I did put the time in there. But it is obviously up to this point still the superior card. And at this moment, at least at this setting, the RTX 2060 12 gig did better than the other three. Now, game-wise, you see I did my best with the GTX 1660 Super. Sometimes this was associated, in my opinion, with the fact that I was using a better monitor at different times. At some points I had a 1440p 144 hertz monitor. Other times I was using a 4K 60 monitor, obviously setting that to the lower resolution. Now note, we talked about some of these, one game play each setting. So there are a total of 24 games that were played to make this video. Some games, the gamer lasted longer than others. That basically, that gamer is me. All games were played with the same motherboard, CPU cooler, RAM, all right, which we just saw. Let's go to 1080p Epic No Shadows. If I hit the right keyboard. So obviously this, is something that if you had more VRAM, you would think you would do better than another graphics card that didn't have as much VRAM. So what do we have? Looking at the 1 minute mark right off the bat, the RTX 2060 Super is doing a little better than the other three. And the reason I put these different things in here is just to kind of show you, how much the game obviously changes in case you haven't been tracking that. There's a big difference. You can look at the delta on some of these from the highs and the lows. 5 minute mark, the RTX 2060 12 gig has, at this point, really made a big change in FPS average. But at this point, the RTX 3060 is now the top dog. What a surprise, right? Well, actually, in this setting, the two graphics cards with the highest VRAM are doing the best. 10-minute mark, we end up basically a tie between the two with 12 gigs. And then at the 15-minute mark, the RTX 3060 has done even better. Both of those games, I finished third. And so, from some aspects, maybe that was a little more evenly matched out as far as it goes. I don't know how long both games played at, but, with that said, the other two, surprisingly, I finished 8th. And you can tell, as you would expect, that the GTX 1660 Super would be the worst of the 4 cards used. All right, let's look at the next one. So we're bumping up the resolution, dropping down the quality back to competitive. So at the 1 minute mark, boom, your 12 gig cards are neck and neck, followed by the RTX 2060 Super, and in last, once again, GTX 1660 Super. 5 minute mark, you've got the RTX 3060 starting to pull away. And at this point, folks, I end up getting killed playing with the RTX 2060. If I could do it all over again, I think I would play this one again, just because it would be neat to see if it started to come back a little, but you know, somewhat non-conclusive, right? You see where I finished in these games. Just a, you know, overall okay gaming experience on this one. But it would appear once again that your RTX 3060 12 gig and the RTX 2060 would be the better graphics cards at this setting. Finally, the highest resolution, highest quality that we're going to see in this video, 1440p Epic, no shadows. Now, this one obviously taxed the GPU quite a bit more. If I would have turned on shadows, it would have really taxed all four of these even more, possibly to the point where gaming would not be very enjoyable. Right off the bat, 1 minute mark, the RTX 3060 is leading the pack, followed by the 12 gig 2060. 5 minutes into it, 3060 still up top, but at this point the RTX 2060 Super has somehow squeaked into second, and once again I end up dying playing the RTX 2060. Now I actually might have started recording a little later, but somehow we didn't make it to 10 minutes, and I ended up finishing 7th, which seems a little odd, but the fact is I did start to record a little late on this one, so that's why that is. You can almost throw this one out, to be honest with you. It's not a really good comparison, but by the 15-minute mark, as you would expect, the 3060 showing it as a superior graphics card. And that leaves, you know, the question of whether, hey, if I was to buy an RTX 2060 12 gig or the 2060 Super, which one would I choose? Honestly, seems like it'd be worth the money to go after the 12 gig over the Super, at least for this game. That's all I have, folks. Thanks for checking out the video. I know this was not the most scientific comparison that one could do, but it's at least a start for those of you that kind of curious of how this plays out. Thanks for checking out the video. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.